afternoon just to speak on it. Actually, this is a live opportunity for you to call in here. This is not a regular Hotline 21. And today, I have with me Brother Wally Muhammad and Brother Leonard Noble. And they are going to present some information that you need to know. And you can actually call in if you have a question or a comment. But more than anything else, we need you to get some information. My name is Kofi Malik. And this is an opportunity for you, the viewing audience, to actually participate once again in a live, interactive exchange. Brother Muhammad, kick it off. Tell us what we're doing here. Tell us what we want to accomplish here, and let's just roll with it.
First of all, Brother Doctor, I want to thank you very much for answering our plea that we can begin an intelligent conversation on something that really is so important to the totality of our community. Mm-hmm. And it really entails the state of the black construction contractors in Chicago, mm-hmm. the failure of the black contractors to really secure viable opportunities of work for the people in our community with a particular focus on our youth. Mm-hmm. Why the black contractors have been castrated, if you will, and what we can do in a very practical manner using intellect and unity to solve these issues, because what my brother, who we're going to introduce in a moment, has been educating this fella on mm-hmm. is that the state of the black contractors in Chicago, it absolutely affects the state of black employment or the lack of employment opportunities in our community. Mm-hmm. And so what we want to talk about today, dear brother, is I'm going to use some terms for the audience that I know you all understand. Number one term my teacher has taught me, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is colony. We are a colony. And if you think about colony and you think about the American Revolution, the whole idea behind the American Revolution is that the colonialists were being taxed by a power that was not in the colony. The King of England was imposing taxes on the colony and then extracting the wealth and the resources out of the colony and sending it back to England, while the colonial settlers were left to fend for themselves, being robbed of their natural resources. Well, hello, black community. This is what we're talking about today. If you look in our community, you can clearly see that they have placed gatekeepers or leadership over our community, but the leadership does not serve the needs of black people. The leadership serves the needs of the colonial powers or the external powers, and they facilitate these powers extracting the resources out of our community and depriving us of those things that are naturally and rightfully ours. So today we have Mr. Leonard Noble, who is a plethora of knowledge and real-life experience in the construction industry. He understands the nuances that the black contractors are facing, and he understands with profound depth and insight why our community looks like this, being robbed of its natural resources and depriving our people, particularly our young people, from having real gainful employment. So, Mr. Noble, thank you very much for being here today, my brother, and I hope that wasn't too much of an overview, but
no, absolutely not. You did an excellent job, and thank you, Doc, for inviting us on the show. And that's exactly what the situation is. So, in my opinion, if you go back and you look at, I'm 56 years old, so if you go back and look at 1960 and look at the 70s, the black businesses that were in our community, we had a lot of them. Black people were shopping with each other. They were taking care of business with each other. We had R.L. Dukes. We had Noble Lincoln Mercury, et cetera, Al Johnson Cadillac. You had the Chatham Foods. All these different businesses, all these different construction companies. What went wrong that today in 2017, when we're supposed to be more inclusive, that black people have almost zero. And only getting worse. Only getting worse. So you're a black contractor. You go out here, you sign a union agreement so you can compete in the larger market, but then you start to noticing all the African American contractors seem to be the only ones getting audited. And every time they get audited, they wind up saying that they owe them literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for that year's activity. So when that happened, Brother Malik, that's that man's profit margin. Most people don't realize if you're a union contractor and you got people working for you, the worker, just use the laborers as an example, the worker is going to gross $80,000 a year for full-time employment. When you're making gross $80,000 a year, what tax bracket is that going to put you in? A higher tax bracket. So you're probably going to be paying at least 25% of that back to the IRS. So you probably making it home with something in the neighborhood of $55,000, $60,000. There's a something called fringe benefit package. Those fringe benefits get paid directly to the union on your behalf, but the union, they hold the money for you. We're going to hold these pension dollars for you, and if you make it to 70 or 65, whatever the case may be, then we'll give them to you. But we're going to hold them right now. We're going to use them right now. But those dollars come out to about $56,000 a year.
Per person.
Right. Per person. Wait a minute. I'm working, doing all the work, busting my butt. I take home $60,000. The union represent me. They collect $56,000 on my behalf. Man, everybody want their game. Then they turn back around and give that money to the politicians who vote the way that they dictate to them to vote on policies that prevent the same black employer, because typically you're going to be hired, if you're a black tradesperson in the trade, you're going to be working for a black contractor, because Hispanic contractors tend to hire Hispanics. White contractors tend to hire white people. The black contractor is not going to get the same opportunity that the Italian and the Irishman get, because you're not going to get any funding from the banks. There's going to be laws on the books that's not going to be enforced as it relates to your participation goals being met. And then, like I said, insult to injury, they turn back around and audit you, and you don't even make no money if you did work the whole year as an individual contractor. So that's one scenario. You look at the same scenario with these PLAs, labor project agreements. I don't know how long the Chicago Housing Authority has been around. I've been here since 1960. I remember as a child, Brother Malik, going to visit my auntie who lived in public housing. So I know it's probably been around at least since the 50s. And in all that time, they never had signed a labor project agreement. Something came into play when African American people became parts of the leadership of the Housing Authority, that it made good sense to, at this point, to sign a labor project agreement mandating anyone does any construction related work for the authority, you must be a union contractor. Right, ain't that something?
What is really amazing, brother, is that, and to the audience, I really implore you to pay attention. I know that you may think this does not affect you, but with God's help, we're going to show you how you are absolutely impacted by this conversation. Now, when these, as my brother said, these project labor agreements are signed, what we're beginning to find out is that, you know, our tax dollars actually support our condition. It is our tax dollars that pays for the police, that gun us down, that arrest us, that provoke us, that harass us. It is our tax dollars. This is why most of your leadership ain't worth a damn. How in the hell can you represent me and you allow this to happen? Now, with this construction industry, thanks be to God for my brother. He's been guiding me and showing me that these entities, we're going to stay local for a moment. Chicago Public Schools, Chicago Housing Authority, these big government entities that are funded by the federal government, they are now the last bastions of influx of money. So what our tormentor has done is he has decided that even though that money comes out of our pocket, we're relegated as aliens in the society, but our money is taken from us. So now they have decided to circle the wagons, which is what the PLAs represent. Circling the wagons to make sure that their people eat off the backs of our condition. All you got to do, caller, all you got to do, viewer, is go to Argyle Gardens, go to Parkway, go to the large housing areas in Chicago, and you will see Caucasian and Latino workers making money while the black people who live there are absolutely powerless, not only not to work, but ain't no black contractor even around. And what my brother's saying is the black contractor has been rendered so inept, so weak through the audits of the unions that he now has relegated himself because he don't want to fight. He don't want to be in unity. He wants to think it's him by himself. So now he's been relegated to become a pass-through company. Mm-hmm. So they take the money. Once you're the black face, mm-hmm, you can win the contract. But as my brother been teaching me, you're not even qualified in terms of labor force pool resources, i.e. loans. You can't even do the job.
You just, like you say, you the pass-through.
You are pass-through.
Right. We got a caller here. All right, caller.
Yes, and Doc, it's good to see you back again.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, I'm 68 years old. The way I was raised, my grandfather worked, my father worked, my uncle worked. It was a family, and we was taught to work, to do things. Then you used to look in the neighborhoods. I come from 70th and King Drive. I was South Park then. I moved over there in 58. And I remember how the blacks became strong. Listen, their fathers, they brought places, restaurants, grocery stores, just like you said, Chatham. Harvey Collins had all the barbecue houses. You had shoe shops. You had hatters. You had cleaners. Well, now these days, they died. And what did the family do? Family didn't do anything. They just laid up and collect everything. They didn't want to work or do things. Now we live in society. Now us black people want everybody to give them something. Everybody wants something for nothing. The young kids, the only thing they want to do is play basketball and be a rapper. Heck, they don't even want to go to school anymore. And people are always talking about, let's put jobs in the neighborhoods. Well, let me tell you, a lot of our people don't want to work. They go to work at McDonald's and they want to make $150,000 for just working there and can't spell their names. So again, we need to do things. Labor is gone out the game. We need to learn technology. We don't need to learn to sweep a broom or pick up bricks or anything like that. We need to learn to use your mind. Your mind is the greatest thing in the world. I was taught when the man could take everything away from you. He could take your clothes off your back. You would be butt naked. But he can't take knowledge away from you. Knowledge is the key to anything that you want to do in this world. Listen, Doc, it's glad to see you back. I see you got your guy with you. It's a good thing. So we going to be looking out for you every Monday. The Cubs were just disgusting me, and I just turned on. I'm so glad that I caught y'all guys. So let me get out there and hear your response. And thanks for taking the call.
Oh, yes, sir. Thanks a lot for calling. And for the rest of you all just looking for something other than the game, here it is. Real game. Brother Muhammad?
Well,
Brother
thank
Leonard?
you, Brother Caller, for your comments. However, I have to respectfully disagree with you. No man can be a man without having the sensation of producing from his own hands. The first employment that Almighty God brought into existence was farming. That was the first job. There was no man to till the soil. So by nature, the man wants to work. He wants to be productive. But unfortunately, some of us who are elders, we acquiesced. See, these things didn't happen where we integrated and we lost. We thought that somebody else's ice was colder than ours. So we left our ice in the name of somebody else's ice. And we took our eyes off the prize, but the truth is we didn't even know what the prize was. The prize is independence. The prize is to be a nation of your own. That's what's written of us. Now, you may not like that, but just because you don't like it, that does not mean it is not the truth. Our condition is written up from Genesis to Revelation, and I can show you with God's help because of the teaching of my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We can show you our condition from cover to cover and the solution that God has in store. You say they don't want to work? Then you tell me, why does the book of Isaiah say, and they will rebuild the wasted cities? Who is the they and what cities are wasted? See? That is talking about us from cover to cover. So with all due respect, my dear brother elder, we got to understand what's prophesied. This construction piece is absolutely what's written. And it is exactly what God wants us to be on. Respectfully.
And my point on it is that we have black tradesmen right now, and I've talked to a number of them, Brother Waleed, and talked to them. Don't even take our word. Go to the organizations that's paid to provide the tradesmen on these various projects. Now, right now, brother, this is the biggest construction boom in the city of Chicago in recent years, decades. The mayor says they got over 50 cranes downtown. Tens of billions of construction dollars. But here's something that's interesting. How can you have all this work going on, but you have black tradesmen not working, card carrying, dues paying, members who aren't working? But you're bringing in people from out of state, Indiana. You bringing guys in from Wisconsin, staying in hotels, paying per diems for them. In cranes, Mortensen Construction was building a high-rise building over at the University of Chicago campus, and they said, we have to promise the tradesmen 60 hours a week minimum. Otherwise, they won't even work for us because there's too much opportunity going on. At Wrigley Field, they're talking about the Cubs, they're running 7 days a week, 12-hour-a-day shifts. These people are paying double time to Hispanics and white tradesmen while black tradesmen are sitting on the bench.
But who in our community, politicians, so-called religious leaders, who in our community can actually act as a callous to bring the information or bring the tradesmen to the table to get paid? It used to be Jesse Jackson. Who now can help the person that need a job benefit from this boom that you were talking about?
Now remember, you have something called the Shackman Decree that came into play. I think now they've relaxed it. Well, black people ain't got no job, so they can relax it, right? So what happens is with a lot of our elected officials, there's two things that you'll hear. One, they'll say, black people don't come out and vote. Whether it's true or not, that's what they tend to say. Two, black people don't write checks to support them. So if they're getting checks from the party organization, if they're getting checks from the union, that's where their allegiance lie. So in a lot of cases, you have these so-called black Hispanic people saying they want to be a part of the solution, but in reality, because they're so dependent on those outside people, why is Bloomberg caring about what black children drink in Chicago as it relates to sugary soft drinks, and you killing other folk who are actually in the process of you killing these other people who are on the street. They ain't talking about that. Bloomberg, to my knowledge, now maybe you might know better, he ain't sending no money in to talk about the police brutality. Your murder solve rate is less than 20%. But you got $225 million went to overtime, and they are saying, white folks are saying, well, we know it was a lot of abuse in there, but we're not going to do an investigation. But a Negro misallocate $2,000, don't know where they put the receipt at, and you indict it and get years of incarceration.
True.
So it's on all fronts, brother.
Yeah, and I think because I see it, and I see these Hispanic-looking people on top of buildings using cranes, and the job might have one black holding a flag on the street in our communities. Now, I do sort of feel like what the caller was saying. A lot of our people are afraid of those high buildings working up there. And I was working under that assumption, so the other day I saw these people tearing down a building in Inglewood, and some young black men walked by and said, man, woo, woo, woo. Dude said, well, man, I can do that. I can operate that. I can this, I can that. So there are black people in our community that can do the work and are, I guess, union card-carrying people. But how do they get tapped in? Are you suggesting that maybe the union or the powers that be don't allow them to be called for these positions?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not by coincidence.
Okay.
It's no mistake. It's an arbitrary, every morning wake up and do the same thing deal. Just like, unfortunately, you have, when you start to see them put black people in positions of authority with these different agencies, look out. Because the everyday grassroots black people about to catch hell. Because their allegiance is to that person who appointed them into that position and created that source of income for them personally. And that's it. Because the truth be told, a lot of these people in those positions, unfortunately, if they wasn't, even some of our elected officials, if they hadn't been appointed, they didn't get elected by the community, brother.
Right.
Look at the number of people in the council and look at the number of people that's on the county board and in the state legislature. A lot of these people were appointed. And if they hadn't been appointed, you know what they'd be doing, brother? They'd be working at Walmart as a greeter.
Yes. It's true. All right, Brother Muhammad.
You know, I want to keep this very simple because our problems are not so scientific. Scientifically, we were placed in this condition. But let's use our Latino family as an example. Our Latino family, because they are my brothers. I got no problem with that. I don't see that culture, the language, as a barrier to our unity. The Latino family never lost their culture, never lost their sense of heritage, never lost their sense of family. Therefore, their unity is what propelling them now ahead of us. When our open enemy puts us in a position, he already knows that we don't have no love of self and kind. He already knows that we will never fight for those that look like us. We don't even have a sense of obligation when we're in these spots. So these are what my teacher called the gatekeepers. They open the gate for the enemy. The enemy comes in, he take whatever he want, and, well, your elected officials, your leadership, those are the gatekeepers. They make it easy for our tormentors to live off of our carcass. All of this is written, caller. All of this is written, viewer. It's written. So because we don't have the love of self, there you go, trying to dismiss the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his minister. If you don't know who you are, what make you want to love somebody that look like you? God made a man. Who made niggas? Yeah. We are the product of somebody else. And the product that they made, it was made in a way to never foster unity with one another. So we have self-hatred, which is the root problem why we can't come together. But our unity, family, is a weapon, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, more powerful than nuclear bombs. If we just come together, we don't need no false leadership. You mentioned people, names. These people go behind the scenes and negotiate for themselves. The hell with the masses. The hell with the workers. The hell with the laborers and contractors. I'll pretend like I got big numbers, then I'll go behind the scenes and negotiate, and you standing out there with a picket sign. But I want to say this last point. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us that our protesting is only enraging our tormentors, because we're asking of him something that God did not put in his heart for black people. So the more you ask of him something that he can't give you, the more angrier he gets with you. And so now they're gunning us down. And there's no court nowhere that's going to convict no white man of murdering no black person. So when are we going to realize that the only people we got to rely on is ourselves? Right. When are they going to realize that, hey, we're going to have to circle our wagon and defend our colony, where it's to the point where we take the warrior class and they on post outside the colony. So when the truck come in with the white boy, what do you want? Who are you here to see? No, you don't have admittance. Wait right there till we get back. Don't they do that with you? Go out to some of them gated communities and see how fast them people come and check and see what the hell you want. Why are you out here? What's your business? When are we going to get that sense?
Well, I think, brother, tell the people what they can do to get better results and they get their needs met.
I think you got to have accountability, all right? And you got to have courage, right? Mm-hmm. So first off, the tradesmen that in the union, you and I, if we're not a member of 150, 134, 130, any of those different locals, we can't go in and demand anything because that's a private entity. But those trades people, those men and women who are dues paying members, they got to ask for a copy of their constitution. They got to ask for a copy of the contract. They've got to ask for accountability, and they have to probably sue those locals. I want to say, go in there and tell them, show us the record. Every dollar that was paid by an employer on behalf of an employee that went to the union, they have a record of how many of those dollars, what the ethnic breakdown of that individual was, and where they're living. So why, and then tell me, why is it that you have all this overtime going to this ethnic group of people, but the other group over here, we supposed to be brothers and sisters, the other group don't get nothing or get crumbs? Why is it that these people who, if you, and I'm not even going to go through the trouble of naming them, but you got 4 or 5 assist agencies out here who get contracts to make sure you get minority participation. Now, you already got the contractor is supposed to abide by the state, county, and federal law. All right? The legislator put the law in place. Then the agency, be it the Public Building Commission or wherever, they put a contract compliance person in place. Now they paying this person money to make sure that the law is being abided by. Then you turn around, they outsource to another handkerchief head a contract at the private level to make, it's almost like casino. The dealers being watched by the pit boss, being watched by the eye in the sky. And with all of this and all this goodwill, black people still losing every day. You see them in the lines filling out papers, applying for the job. Man, I talked to 3 sisters in the last 24 hours, each one of them working 2 jobs and having utility services disconnected because you're not making a living wage. Now, the caller was right when he talked about technology. That is a good thing. But if you still don't have nobody that's going to allow you in, what difference does it make if you know how to make a spaceship? You got commercial airline pilots, brother, who was sitting in the cockpit on their telephones calling to see if their link card had been activated. Because of that technology, the Dreamliner can take off on its own, fly on autopilot, and land itself. Dude is just sitting in there, and they reducing his pay as a result. You getting ready to displace 6.5 million truck drivers in the country, one of the second largest industries in the country, because of the new technology with the trucks going to be driving themselves. They don't need them no more. When I was a kid, I had a car. I go to the gas station, they wipe the windshield, they check the air, they check the fluids, they pump the gas, and the gas was 28 cents a gallon.
It's true.
Now you're paying over $3 a gallon. You better get it out, pump it yourself, and if you find out your tire a little low, you better have 4 more quarters if you want to get some air to get home.
That's the change.
You go to the grocery, when they opened the Grand Bazaar on 87th and the Dan Ryan, I had friends that was in high school that was baggers, that was part of the union, making union wages, buying cars. You go to the store now, you better bag it yourself, check yourself out, and if you want a bag, it's 7 more cents if you in the city.
That's true. Yeah. And I guess some people would call that progress. But I guess even old timers like me, I check myself out now too. I'm surprised, Brother Muhammad. Damn, there it is. And I think that's probably the challenge in our community is that we see a lot of people that look like they are idle. They can't really do illegal activity like they used to because the money ain't there and it's just too much to pay for the little bit that you're getting back. So now, listening to what you're saying, and I mean, okay, if you're in the union, you still might not get a job. And if you're looking for a job, where can you look? I mean, you can't just walk up to these people at they site and say, will you hire me? I mean...
We have, listen, with all due respect, brother, doctor, forgive me, I'm getting excited, brother. Black people in America, we get like $1.3 trillion out of this economy. If we were a nation, we would be the 9th richest nation on earth. We don't need nobody to help us. We need the unity of us as a people. And then those brothers and sisters who have skill and talent that they use to keep our oppressor afloat, bring that talent home. Bring your skill home. Bring your business acumen home. We got property all over Chicago in our neighborhoods. Don't you tell me that our young men don't want to work. See, you say that because you scared of them, so you don't talk to them. But I talk to them. And I know my little brothers would love an opportunity to work with gainful employment. Don't tell me we want to sell drugs. That's you and your fear following your slave master and their children with that madness. You bought it, hook, line, and sinker. But you don't talk to our children. In fact about it, you call them kids. Unless you a damn goat, you ain't got no kids. Goats are mischievous. Give them some trash. He all through your house. But we don't have kids, we have children. So why don't you talk to your children? They'll tell you what's happening. Let me tell you something. Your senses determine your thinking. What you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, that's where your thoughts are formed. So if I control what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you feel, I don't have to just control your thinking. I know exactly what you're going to do. So you say they ain't got nothing to do but be rappers and sell drugs. What have you done, Dad? Our babies are angry, my teacher said, because we have not built a future for them to look forward to. That's a reason to be angry. But go up to Winnetka and Lakeview and other places. Son, when you reach 18, you'll have this. When you get your college degree, you'll have this. And when you get married, son, this is waiting for you. That child got something to look forward to. But you parents, how do you blame the fruit of your womb? What kind of madness is that? You're going to blame a product of your loins for its failure. No, you failed, and even more so, your institutions that you love have failed you, because they're the ones that are supposed to be the stewards of the life force in you. But they failed you. Then you turn around and fail your babies, but you don't look at the institution. You look at your children and you call them thugs and hoodlums and gangbangers and kids.
When you send them to a school that don't have no books in the library, no water in the swimming pool, no musical instruments in the music room, you got to pass through metal detectors. And to your point, you go up there to New Trier, ain't no metal detectors going on in there. So it's a condition that we played a part in, and then we blame the kids. You go back to these contractors. These guys, you got to have more insurance. You got to have more bonding. Why would I, as a subcontractor, need to bond a job that you, as the general, getting paid off the top and first off my labor, and your only responsibility is for you really to oversee and bond the job? But then you come back and tell me I got to put up the bond. If I could put up the bond, I should be the general. Then you get our misguided black people, and they say the contractor, see, our people just ain't ready and equipped and capable of doing it. I can't build capacity if you keep auditing me every year and charge me $8, $9, $1 million in miscellaneous nonsense, and I can't go to court in their system and fight it and win.
We were at, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
One more point on what Brother Leonard is saying.
All right.
We were at a CHA board meeting. And in the board meeting, members of the unions were speaking because they were still haranguing over the proposed PLA. One of the union members said that we're not going to drop our standards seeking potential apprentices in the public housing places. One of the things that we're going to have to do, we're going to have to step in and give our people basic life skills. So that the level of conversation, intellect, and even civilization is such that they can become qualified candidates for apprenticeship programs. But right now, Junebug out there, his pants down.
Right.
Girlfriend out there, she got a plastic cap on and she come outside in her pajamas that she slept in. Mm-hmm. So I can understand from the union's perspective or the contractor's perspective, I'm not messing with them ninjas. Mm-hmm. But we love them ninjas. We'll train them ninjas and we'll make them where they're ready for any apprentice thing that you got, because don't forget, our fathers built this country. Don't tell me we don't know what to do. Don't tell me we don't have the innate ability to build. It's our nature to build. You robbed us of that, and you set your unions up to deprive us of opportunity. So we saying, hey, we know how to train our people up. We know how to make them civilized and fit and decent and self-respecting and full of self-worth and self-esteem. We know how to do that. We're not saying cut us in or cut us out. We're not slaves. We don't need you to cut nothing out. We want our tax dollars back. We know what to do for our people. Give us our money back.
But you're not going to get support from the government on that point, because now they advertising this. These ain't my numbers. They saying right now, 18 months on the job, Chicago policeman, $72,000. But now they also saying On top of that, you're gonna get about another $75,000 in overtime, right? So you got policemen out here making $150,000 a year, but at the same time, violent crime going on every weekend, countless people being. You got to keep a calculator now to know how many people got shot over the weekend. Yeah. So what are you getting, as the brother's saying, for those tax dollars that you paying? They finna probably most likely repeal this tax tomorrow on the soda. Then they're going to turn around and say, okay, since we repealed it, we're going to do a 10% cut across the board. The 10% cut going to be African Americans. Sure. Then next administration or later in this administration, they're going to turn around and replace all those people with people of other ethnic, right? And it's the game to just go on and on. How do you pull up to a park as a police officer and see a child playing with a toy gun that they sell in every toy store in America? And last I understood, children were supposed to play in the park, and before you can get out the car, you shoot and kill a child. Then you turn around and you get a black man in Utah on a bicycle, and they say you got a tail light out, and the man is running away, and they shoot him because they think he's a threat to him running away. He is a threat to him running away because he's a black man in white America.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we can do, might be a little too late now because the test is probably over, but one of the things I was saying to Brother Matthew was on the show earlier, you know, the money that the police officers are making, these young white boys and girls are doing a minimum of work and making all that good money. But if you ask young black people in the age group, parents, why don't they encourage him? I don't want him to be a cop. Why don't you encourage him to go to the military? I don't want him to go to the military. So I think part of a lot of the opportunities that we are missing has something to do with our attitude of I don't want. I mean, I tell my grandson, boy, you 18, you go to college for 2 years, you need to be a cop. He and his mama. It's like it's some type of insult to be in law enforcement. Well, if you don't become the police, then that little white boy, that little white girl, that little Hispanic, that little Asian is going to be the police. They're going to make the $150,000, and they're going to do the same thing to you that the people done to your foreparents.
But check this out, Doc. When they looked at the record on this last recruiting piece, there was a significant number of African-American applicants. You know what got them disqualified? Not they didn't pass the drug test. Not they didn't pass the psychological. Not that they didn't have the skill set from the educational perspective. Not that they didn't have no criminal backgrounds. Mm-hmm. They didn't pass the credit check. Check the record. This last group that they just went through with the Chicago Police Department, they disqualified countless African Americans because they did not have a high enough FICO score.
And let me say this to that. I don't know, but I would imagine a lot of them have bad credit because they had bad parents. A lot of their parents burnt up their credit when they was babies. And I think part of the issue is they have moved from all those other why nots. And now if you use credit as such, a whole lot of black future nowadays kids will never get a job because they stupid mama and daddy already burn up their credit.
Well, wait a minute. See, again, we're blaming victims.
No, but Brother Muhammad, let me say this.
Let me say why I'm saying that, brother.
Right.
You know I love you. We ain't never argued.
Right.
But let me explain. Wasn't it just a few days ago that Equifax just admitted that there was this big security breach with all of your social security number? Didn't Wells Fargo, wasn't they making ghost accounts using people's information, creating bank accounts and then taxing them for the bank account not being at a certain level? What is credit? It's only a criteria used to determine if I want to give you my money. That's all it is. Is that really a badge of honor? Now, I'm not saying if you are struggling and you trying to be decent and responsible and you pay things on time, you should not be rewarded with that. I'm not saying that. But it seems like each time that we get near the goal line, the goal line keeps moving back.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, why not just tell me I don't want you to be a policeman?
Right.
Why not just say it? Why do you have to keep playing this game? Why do you have to do this? See, again, this frustration level that's in both communities, the black and the white, is boiling over.
Yeah, now I'm gonna say this, and you and I know that we take these positions. The issue is the system. They are there. But there are things that we as Negroes need to do and be responsible.
Yeah.
We need to take ownership for messing up our children's credit. I don't give a damn about none of this other stuff. If your mama used your credit when you were 6 months old and now you 21 and you can't get a job, don't blame white folk for that. Blame your mama, because your mama should have gave you a chance to get as an adult and be able to use whatever was available for you. And I think what happens is that we see the system as the enemy. Yes, the system might be, but that don't change the fact that the mama don't want you to go to the military. The mama don't want you to be a policeman. So you grow up thinking that that's bad. What's bad about being a policeman? What's bad about being in the military? You say you want to have equal opportunity, but when the greater opportunities in your community are there, somehow or another, we don't step up. How do we get around it? How do we get our people? I'm not saying blame the victim, but stop blaming the white man. You know, I get so tired of us saying they won't let us. What are we doing for ourselves? I mean, you say bring them to us. Where we at? Right now, we on here. We on a show. We did a special show. But what do that young man out there right now that want to go get a job, to get in a union, what do he come to? Who do he go to? Who will advocate for him? Where is that spot? Without that knowledge, then that young man is confused, and that young man becomes not a victim of the white man, but the victim of black people that had opportunity, but didn't do all they should have done to facilitate the process for him to be empowered. I mean, we gotta, see, we can't afford to continue to say the white man won't let us. And we can't continue to think that they're gonna give us these daggone schools. They ain't.
Right.
And they don't even thinking that you're gonna come over here and you're gonna take abandoned buildings and fix them up because that's what you wanna do. They ain't yours. But if we can show our children and encourage our children, I agree with you, Brother Muhammad, 1,000%. They do wanna work. They will work. But where is the work? Tell me one black something where a black child can get a job that a black person can give him. Tell me that. Where is it at?
We have genius among us.
Yes.
It's not about blaming other people.
Yes.
I'm in agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, our mantra is do for self.
Right.
We don't have to waste time blaming nobody. I just said we got $1.3 trillion. But our problem is we're consumers and not producers.
Yeah.
So we're not even thinking about making things. But we got every strata of knowledge field in our community, but we make things for other people.
Yeah.
Bring that knowledge home. It ain't going to come in a 5-minute show, but we got genius among us. We have to have real conversations and come together with the spirit of unity. No big I's and little U's. Right. Remember that?
Yeah.
No big I's and little U's. We all at the table of brotherhood. You know this, you know that, you skilled at this, you skilled at that. Let's form unity, and we can solve our own problem. We ain't got to blame nobody.
Right.
In fact about it, our lack of unity blames ourselves. But I'll say this. The Bible says what? Of the bones in the valley. Our hope is lost. We're cut off from our parts. See, our problem is the elders, we don't even think we can come together. I can't say I can't be nice on that one.
But Brother Muhammad, I want to go here. I really want us to deal with this. Right now, in all of Chicago, where is there somewhere that somebody that's looking for a job in the trades or just a job, period? Yeah, that number of how much money we got, that's virtual space money. That ain't our money. That's money we spend. But that money, don't nobody control it. who control enough money this moment that they can give 2 black children a job? Where are those black people that can give a black child a job?
It's twofold. One is the educational piece and enlightening the person that's needing the job to know that, to your point, there's opportunities there. And the person who are going to be paying the person to let them know that black people can do what you're currently outsourcing to Asians, Hispanics, Polish, and etc. Right. Our community. We have black property owners. Mm-hmm. They don't, and unfortunately, and you see it as well as I do, you go through your own community and your neighbors, your family members are hiring other ethnic groups to do the work that's being done on their buildings.
And don't provoke me to talk on that, because I wouldn't hire now one of them, because every one of them I've hired, I wanted to kill him. But when I hire a Hispanic, he come do the job correct. When I hire Polish, he do it correct. When I hire a Russian, he do it correct. But when I hire a colored, what do he do? Try to be slick. Now, what am I supposed to do? Let dude beat me and let the city take my property because I hired a colored and this sucker tried to be a crook? These are realities we got to deal with. Until we deal with the ugly reality and start facing it, all of the contracts in the world ain't going to help us, because we are doing things that we shouldn't be doing to ourselves.
My teacher says this. Mm-hmm. Consider these words. He said, this is the day of requital. Mm-hmm. That means every act has a consequence. Mm-hmm. You steal in the Middle East,
3 minutes.
You got a nub. You rape in the Middle East, it's called poke chop. Mm-hmm. Poke in the side, chop your head off. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, we're savage. I feel you, Doc. You know, I feel you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But there's a language that you speak to savages that they understand. Mm-hmm. How do you train animals to perform in a zoo? Hey, Tommy the lion, look, I need you to hop on this stool. Whap! Bow! Mm-hmm. You train animals. Unfortunately, we're so animalistic now. Mm-hmm. We don't even have natural human feelings.
It's true.
So we have to be retrained.
I agree.
You feel me? We got to be retrained. When brother man know if you steal, something gonna happen to you. Mm-hmm. He may fall victim to that consequence, but homeboy watching understand, man, if I do like that, this gonna happen. Let me just come to work, put my hours in, and go home. See, there are many components here to bringing healing to our community. Some of us, we don't know how to think outside the box, so we don't consider. But there's a quick remedy for stealing, Doc.
Yeah, and we where we need to be, and we're gonna do a couple of shows like this, y'all, because see, we got to get to the crux of it, because we all tap around, we all tiptoe, but the reality is, you're right. Dude committing the crime, dude to being slick, you got a consequence coming, dude, and we gonna let you know. We gonna start serving you that. And I think that's what we got to deal with. Yeah, they do this, they do that. But in the end, if you do this to us, we going to hold you accountable.
Right.
Gentlemen, we done run out of time. Callers, I know you didn't know we was going to be here, so you didn't get in. It's all right, because in a minute, we do it long enough, you understand that this is what we do. And we're going to start doing it. Since the other channel ain't available, 21 works just fine.
Yes, sir.
As long as it's live. And we will recreate that live audience. So, Brother Muhammad, Brother Leonard, we done run out of time. We got to get out of here. All right, y'all.